Hi, welcome to this episode of Thai Food. Today we're going to make my recipe. I call it sweet potato crisp. It's kind of a riff on apple crisp, but I'm making it with sweet potatoes, and it's kind of a borderline savory sweet dish. Basically all I do is I bought a little package of sweet potatoes. They're a medium-sized sweet potato that come in this bag. I'm using 4 of them for this recipe. So you just want to get your sweet potatoes, wash the outside, and trim your ends and peel them. The first time I made this, I didn't peel it, but I just didn't care for the texture of the skin in the dish, even though I got a lot more vitamins, I'm sure, out of it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel it. And most people just peel their sweet potatoes anyhow. They don't really utilize the skin. So I was trying something different. I want to start with having 2 tablespoons of butter melted. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the microwave real quick. Just about 30 seconds ought to do it. So we're going to get that melted. And we're going to start with our filling that we're going to toss the sweet potatoes with. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of sugar in the raw. If you don't have sugar in the raw, it sounds like my butter's about melted. Yep. There we go. Butter's definitely melted. I'll put that there for now. So if you don't have sugar in the raw, use brown sugar. That's a perfectly good substitute. Or you can go buy sugar in the raw. I just happen to have about, 8-10 pounds on hand. Stocked up on it a while back. So we got 2 tablespoons of sugar in the raw. Set that there. And gonna use ground ginger and some cinnamon. So for ground ginger, we're gonna use a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. Just 1/4 teaspoon. That's all we need. Ginger can be very potent, so you don't want to overpower it. And nutmeg, we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Again, that can be powerful too, but it's a good spice, I think. So, there we go. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then the cinnamon, we're going to do 1 full teaspoon of cinnamon. So there's 1/2. There's 1 full teaspoon. And we're going to do a tablespoon of flour. That'll be good right there for now. There we go. 1 tablespoon flour. Give this a little mixy mix. Try to get everything incorporated before we dump it over our sweet potatoes. And then we'll mix the sweet potatoes with it on there. And that's all our dry ingredients for this mixture. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Now for our moist ingredients, we got the 2 tablespoons of butter that we went ahead and melted. And, well, I forgot one of the dry ingredients. This is an important one. This is just some regular sea salt. I want 1/2 teaspoon of that in the dry mixture. It goes really good with the sweetness of this dish. Alright, so I got the butter, cinnamon, all that. Alright, now we're going to do our wet ingredients. You're going to look at me weird, probably, but I'm putting some soy sauce in this. Just a 1/2 teaspoon of soy sauce. And it adds a little umami flavor to it and plays with the saltiness as well. Helps amp up the saltiness, the umami flavor. It goes really good in this dish, believe it or not. So 1/2 teaspoon of that. And I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There we go. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. Got it. Alright. And now some maple syrup. Alright, we want 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. And just regular, real maple syrup for this. You don't want the cheap stuff. You want the real stuff for this. So, if you don't have it, use some honey. Honey's a good substitute for it. There we go. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. We'll go ahead and give this a mix. And this one I got this at BJ's when I lived in New York. It's still good, so had it a couple years now. I just keep it refrigerated. Alright, so now we want to concentrate on our sweet potatoes. So, like I said, I peeled them and trimmed the ends after washing them. And so we're just going to take and we're going to slice them on our mandolin slicer here. And I'm going to cut them in half before I slice them. Grab my cutting board here and knife, just because it'll be a little easier to handle while I'm slicing. So I'm just going to go ahead and half these. And they're a bit of a hard potato, so a good sharp knife is handy to have for this. And I just had them sitting in some plain cold tap water here. That's all I had them sitting in. I don't know if these turned brown, but it looked like they were getting brown spots on them, so I threw them in the tap water. Figured better safe than sorry, Oh, that didn't work out so well, did it? There we are. And that one I'll just slice up anyways. It'll mix right in, you won't even notice. There we go. So, just got this little handy dandy mandolin slicer and just run them right across and makes nice even slices for you. I picked this up at Ollie's for like 12 bucks. It was a real good price. It's got a bunch of different inserts for it. I believe it's made by Tefal even, if I remember correctly. Something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick pause while I run the rest of these through my slicer here. Alright, we're just finishing up the last little bit here. It takes about a good 5 minutes to slice these. Not a whole lot of time. I could probably do it in my food processor if I wanted to, but this works for me. And I'm just putting them in this bowl here in front of me. So I'm going to mix everything in the bowl and then go into there with it. So as you can see, I got them all sliced up here. Nice thin slices. We'll put this off to the side, get rid of this water. Turn my burner down on my turkey stock so it doesn't boil over on me. Alright. So I'm going to go in with the wet ingredients first here. Just kind of toss the potatoes with the wet ingredients. Then we'll toss them with the dry. And of course, you'll get some moisture that comes out of these while they're baking. So it'll make a nice little sweet potato gravy, so to speak, when it's baking with that flour in there. I'm going to kind of try to separate them if you can. If not, don't worry about it. You want to get the flavor over everything, of course, but it doesn't always happen. I can already smell the maple syrup and the vanilla. Okay, so we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this on here and then give it a mix. try to coat it evenly with stuff. Sprinkle a little more on. Give it a mix. It's a real simple recipe. Doesn't take a lot of time unless you're very particular like me. It takes a little bit longer, but not too much. I'm just going to go ahead and go in with the rest of it here. Got some ice coming out of the ice machine again. That's what you're hearing for the noise in the background there. Alright. This looks pretty good at this point. So the next thing I want to do is I got an 8x8 Pyrex dish here. And you want to kind of lubricate it a little bit so it doesn't stick on you. You know, just a quick spray. You don't want to be too heavy. And we're going to take our sweet potatoes and go into the Pyrex dish. Try to get them laying flat as we go in with them. And these will, you know, shrink in height as it cooks and bakes. And the air bubbles out of it and everything. So it's going to look a lot taller in the beginning than it will end up being. Again, I'm being a little particular about how I'm putting these in. You can just dump them in if you want and pile them up and do it however you want. Trying to make sure we scrape all the excess out of here for butter and everything. And I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to preheat my oven. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going real quick here, because that's going to take it a little bit. If I can get it to respond. There we go. Big. We're going to preheat the oven to 350. And that turkey stock's bubbling away back there, so I'm going to just turn that down a little bit. Just kind of get these all spread right out the way you want it. You know, like I said, this will cook and it'll reduce by at least a quarter of the volume and settle down into the pan. And if you want to, you know, add a couple more sweet potatoes because you want it a little bit higher for volume, you can do that. And the recipe doesn't really change a whole lot. But there we go for that. Let me rinse my finger real quick here. Alrighty. Alright, so we're going to cover this for the oven because we want to keep most of the moisture in. We don't want this to dry out while it's trying to cook the potatoes. We're going to bake this 45 minutes at 350 degrees. And then we'll take the foil off and we'll put our crumb topping on and finish baking it. So I'm going to set it back here while we wait for the oven to preheat because I forgot to turn it on. Alright, and we're going to work on our crumb topping. Alrighty, so for the crumb topping we want 4 tablespoons of butter. Go ahead and get this out. Hey, rascal. Wife picked up a puppy that was abandoned in the Walmart parking lot. So we're fostering him for now. Hoping he stays pretty mellow so he can stay with us. I'm going to go ahead and melt the butter here in the microwave. Again, about 30 seconds ought to do it. And for this, we're going to want some old-fashioned Quaker oats. Just some regular old-fashioned oatmeal. This is one of my favorite go-tos when I'm making crumb topping. So, on a nice, fairly level 1 cup. 1 cup of oatmeal. And I heard the butter. That's ready. Alrighty. There's our butter, all bubbly. Okay. Go ahead and set that off to the side. Again, with the sugar in the raw. Going to do 2 tablespoons of sugar in the raw. So we got 1 cup of oatmeal in there, 1 level cup, 2 tablespoons sugar in the raw. Again, if you don't have sugar in the raw, you can substitute a light brown sugar, dark brown sugar, either one. I'm just using the sugar in the raw because I have it on hand. So there we go. And I'm going to need to get myself some white sugar. I forgot to grab that. And going to need a tablespoon of flour. Go ahead and put a tablespoon of flour in there. Thank you, sweetheart. My wife brought me over the sugar. 1 tablespoon of white sugar. We want a nice, sweet, crispy crumb topping. And we want it to kind of caramelize on its own, so that's where the sugar comes in handy, and the butter. Alright, so we've got the 2 tablespoons sugar in the raw, tablespoon of white sugar, tablespoon of flour. Got the melted butter here ready to go. To the melted butter, we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. There we go. 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And I didn't put any soy sauce in that one, but I know I put salt in there, 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'll grab my 1/8 teaspoon out here. It's in here somewhere. Maybe. You know, I think it's over here behind me. I don't know. I'm not finding it. Gotta be in here. There we go, 1/8 teaspoon. All the way at the bottom, last place I look. Alright. So, 1/8 teaspoon of salt. There we go. I'm going to go with a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And that's a ground nutmeg. And we're going to go with a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. There we are. And ground ginger again, of course. Only 1/8 teaspoon of the ground ginger in the crumb topping. There we are. And maple syrup again, of course. You know, want to reinforce that maple syrup flavor that's in the sweet potatoes and the other topping we put in there. So 1 tablespoon of maple syrup in here. Go ahead and let it drizzle right on there. Scrape it out good. There we go. Alrighty. And that's everything we're going to put into that for the crumb topping. Throw that in the sink. Take and mix this in really good. Toss that in there. Now we want to mix our dry ingredients up a little bit before we start drizzling the wet in there. Get it mixed up pretty good, you know. And this will make a nice crumb topping for this. Go ahead and just pour the wet over top of it. Get it so it starts soaking it all up. Just going to use this spatula because it's got pretty much the same flavors as we put in the potatoes here. So the only difference is I didn't add any soy sauce to the topping. I just kept it kind of traditional. That way there you can take it and You can use it for regular apple crisp if you wanted to. Just kind of an all-purpose crumb topping here with oatmeal. Sounds like my ice machine's full. Got plenty of ice now. Not that I need it at any moment. And there we go. We just get this all mixed up good, and as soon as the oven's up to temp, it's pretty close, 305 degrees currently. So get this mixed up good. Let it sit here and soak in all the flavors while that's cooking for about an hour. And then we'll pull that out, top it with our crumb topping, and put it back in for another 15 minutes. So let's bake it for 45 minutes at 350 covered. Then put your crumb topping on, leave it uncovered, and finish baking it. And if it's not toasty the way you want it, you can finish it off with the broiler a little bit and let the crumb topping get a little crisper on top. It's all personal preference at that point. So as you can see, we just got our oatmeal sugar crumb topping here with some flour and such in it. And we're just going to let the oven finish heating up here. And I'll go right into the oven with the apple crisp. And then when I go to put the crumb topping on, I'll come back to you. We'll take a brief pause here and get this going. Alright, just in time, our timer's going off. Pull this out. Obviously, because it's wildly inefficient to stand there and do it while the door is open. You want to be careful at this point. You see all that steam? That'll burn you for sure. There we go. Alright. So now, I threw my spatula in the water. Now we're going to put our crisp topping on. You can see it's kind of firmed up because it's soaked up all the moisture out of the oatmeal. Or I should say that oatmeal soaked up all the moisture out of the butter and everything else. So we're just going to go ahead and start putting this topping on here. Just like so. Just kind of spread it around, make sure you get it all over the top of it so it all gets nice and toasty and crispy. You don't want heavy, thick pockets if you can help it. Now, I tried looking up to see if anybody had made a sweet potato crisp like this, and everything I found, they cook the sweet potatoes and then mash them. So, as far as I know, this is somewhat unique. I could be wrong. Kind of hope I am. I'd hate to be the first one to cook sweet potatoes this way, but this is definitely a recipe I threw together myself. So, there we go. We got our crumb topping on there. Now we're going to go back into the oven for 15 minutes, and we'll catch back up with you when we pull it out. Alright, we're about to pull out our apple or sweet potato crisp. What's up, Rascal? There's our timer. There we are. Now, I'm going to want this a little more toasty, so I'm going to go back in under the broiler and toast it up a little bit. Just got to turn my oven off. Go to broil, low, timer. Oh, got to tell it to start first. And I'm just going to put it there for 2 minutes. And we'll come back to you in a couple minutes and see what it looks like. Alright, welcome back again. Let's check on our crisp now. Oh yeah, there we go. That's perfect right there. That's what I was looking for. I did 2 minutes on low broil. Timer's just going off now. Turn everything off here. Alright. And that's what I'm looking for. A little bit of color on it. So now you just want to set this off to the side and let it cool off. And then dig in and enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. to this rendition of Thai food where we made a sweet potato crisp. And don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, which if you're watching this, I'm sure you can find the channel. So also Facebook is Thai food, Twitter is Thai food, and I'm on Instagram at Thai food on YouTube as well. So tune in, and don't forget the little bell icon. It'll notify you when I upload a new video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you make it. Thanks.